So for those of us who put on different types of events, there's a question in this age of AI that has become really important. How do we use data and AI to unlock the human potential when we come together, when we put on different types of events? In this video, I'm going to show you the process that we use. And this is part of a series. We're going to share every day, maybe for the next week or so, leading up to our annual in-person event in our own community, which is called Transformation by Design. I'm going to share a behind the scenes, and I'm going to answer questions that come from some of our attendees and some of our members. So I hope you enjoy. Again, we're going to talk right now and share with you how do we combine data and AI to unlock human potential. Right now, it starts with two simple words, and the words are capture and curation. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about how we do each of these. So let's talk about the capture piece first of all. So one of the things that we do before our events, and our event coming up in just a couple weeks, we use what is called an intake form. And that intake form asks questions. By the way, we have put on, in the last just 5 years alone, hundreds and hundreds of events, in person and online. And we have had thousands, well over 10,000 intake forms completed. So I'm sharing with you from experience, there's a right way to do this so that the data that we capture can be really useful in how we design and facilitate an event. And it can also help a lot of other things. The kinds of questions that we would ask on an intake form leading into an event, if the event is happening, let's say over here, right, is we would ask the obvious, like, hey, why are you coming and what do you want out of this event? But then we go a layer deeper. What are your hopes and aspirations for what comes out of the other side? What are your fears or concerns? What are you struggling with as it relates to whatever the topics are of the event? And the more we can learn about who's showing up and what their goals or obstacles are, the more we can now take the information from that intake form. And that information can inform the actual event design. We're constantly making adjustments, even up till the week before, based on what we're learning about who's showing up. We can look at the language. We will use AI to look for themes across not only who's showing up, but give us examples of language patterns in how our attendees are articulating their hopes or fears as it relates to the event, so that as a facilitator, we're using language that's going to align with who is sitting in the room. If an event happens to have outside speakers or presenters, the information from these intake forms can be synthesized and given to the speakers and presenters so that whatever they're sharing is in alignment with what people are looking for. We can even take this intake form data, and by the way, we're only sharing with others either if we have permission or we're deleting contact info if we don't. We can also share with key partners. For example, we have an AV partner who produces many of our larger events, and there will be information on the intake forms that will affect choices for music. We'll share it with our food vendors so they can see people's preferences related to food. There's so much information that we can get from those intake forms. And in fact, I'll share one more example with you later that for many of you has major implications in the success of the business if you're putting on events and aiming to generate revenue or a profit. But that's all I want to share for right now on capturing information via an intake form. I want to give you a couple thoughts on how we curate. Now, curation, I'm going to give you two different ways that we do this. So our event coming up in a few weeks is a 3-day event. And the first type of curation is what we would call centralized curation. What do we mean by centralized curation? Well, what we've done at Exchange is we have created a custom GPT that our team is able to use, and that allows us to choose who's going to sit together on the first night during dinner. There's going to be tables of 6. On the second day, there's an activity we do in pairs. We want the right people together. In the afternoon, there's groups of 4. You're doing an exercise called wisdom circles. So for us, there's 3 different times that we, the host, the convener, those of us who are the organizers of the event, who lead the community, are going to curate who is connecting with who based on information we have. Now, there's another form of curation, And this is what we would call self-organized. And this is something that we're actually doing for the very first time coming up in a few weeks. Now, I'll break it down, and you might think about how you could apply this for any type of meeting or event that you're putting on. So this very same custom GPT, one of the things we've done is in our intake forms, we've gotten permission from our participants to share certain information with our AI tool and with each other. Now, I think 90% of our participants opted in, a few opted out. That's okay, no big deal. For those that opted in, they all have access to a custom tool where they can go in this tool and they can ask questions like, who are the top 5 most important people for me to meet? Or who could really help me out with my challenges based on who's going to be in this room? And because of the kinds of questions we ask, the output of the tool is really, really helpful. Or who can I help, right? A healthy community is all about cycles of giving and receiving. So these are the kinds of prompts that we've actually put into the GPT to encourage our participants to utilize. By the way, here's my favorite thing is when the tool pops out, who should I connect with? There's a follow-on prompt that we've put in there that says, give me a way to start conversations with these folks. Give me 2 or 3 questions that I could ask. So those of us who are introverted or it takes a lot of energy to build new relationships, we can actually use the AI tool based on what we know and who we're being guided to connect with. Oh, and by the way, we get permission in the intakes to not only say, here's who to connect with and how to connect, but to also give you their contact info. And so, of course, what do you think we have the tool doing? It will actually generate a sample script, give you the email, the subject line. You can literally click twice and send out a note that says, hey, I saw you're coming and I saw your goals are this and so are mine and I'd love to connect. So capture and curation. These are a few of the ways that we are using data and AI to unlock human potential in our events, our community gatherings, in our trainings, our workshops. Hope this is useful. If it is, let me know in the comments. And we're going to keep sharing as we lead up to our event, kind of a behind the scenes. What is it that we are doing as we prepare? How are we designing the agenda? What are we struggling with? What's working really well? How does the business model work? And what are we thinking about right now? We're going to drop a video maybe once a day for maybe about the next week. Tell us what you think. Hope you enjoyed. Cheers.